What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Primetime Sports Podcast, hosted by Joey Mailari. So I want to recap the UMaine-Ohio State basketball game from a few nights ago now. It was on Wednesday. UMaine was traveling to Ohio State, found themselves as 23.5-point underdogs. I thought UMaine could be in the game. I truly did. I thought they had what it takes to definitely be in it towards the end, the last 5 or 6 minutes. Things just did not go their way at the end of the day. It was really hard for them height-wise. I mean, they were dominated in the paint by Ohio State. Ohio State had 58 points in the paint out of their 95. They ended up winning that game 95-61 by 34 points over Maine. Maine had 28 points in the paint. Ohio State had 30 more. 58 points in the paint. You're not going to win many games when you're giving up 58 points in the paint, and you only had 28 as a team on your own. Then you look at it, they also shot very well from three, Ohio State. They were 8 of 19 from three for 42%. They shot 61% from the field, 41 of 67. UMaine was cooler from the floor, 25 of 64 for 39% field goal percentage, and then was 6 of 25 from three for 24% three-point field goal percentage. So they struggled from beyond the arc shooting. That's usually something they do well. And then also only had 6 free throw opportunities, and usually they get to the line a little more than that. Ohio State only had 7 free throws. They were 5 of 7. UMaine found themselves at 5 of 6. So neither team really got to the line much. But Ohio State really dominated on the glass as well. 37 rebounds for Ohio State to 19 for Maine. Maine was out-rebounded by 18 rebounds in that game. And Ohio State had 9 offensive boards to Maine's 6. So that was obviously a struggle. Maine forced 7 turnovers of Ohio State. Ohio State forced 13 turnovers of Maine. Maine turned the ball over 13 times, which is obviously hard to do. But in the second half, the score was 47-26 after the first half, right? Maine was down 21 points going into the second. Second half, Maine was in the game. 48-35, they lost in the second half, losing the game 95-61. Yes, but they were only down 13 points there in the second half. Scoring. So, pretty impressive finish for them at the end of the day. They're playing one of the best schools in the country. Ohio State now in the year is 8-3. They are 7-3 in their last 10 games, 8-3 overall. So, it's a tough game going to play at Ohio State. Ohio State was 5-0 at their home arena. Now find themselves at 6-0 on the year at the home arena. But just to highlight some plays from UMaine that played well, I want to talk about a few, which I've talked about Calvin Tynes a good amount before. But he had a great game, 19 points for UMaine. And that's one thing you always know you're going to get. You're always going to get consistent scoring out of Calvin Tynes. You're always going to get consistent scoring and good defense. He had 19 points off 9 of 14 shooting. Tynes also added 3 steals on defense. He played very well defensively, as he always does. 6 assists and 3 rebounds with 9 of 14 shooting on the floor, 0 of 2 from 3. Bryce Sensabaugh of Ohio State, he's a freshman forward who I talked about in my pregame preview. I said, watch out for him. He had 19 points for the Buckeyes, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, was 8 of 12 from the floor, and 3 of 5 from 3. He had a great game. The whole entire starting lineup had double-digit scoring except for one guy. So 4 to 5 starters for Ohio State had double-digit scoring. SU UMaine, they had 2 guys scoring double digits for the entire team, and that was Tynes. And then Julius Apitis had 16 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, a block, and was 6 of 15 from the floor and 3 of 9 from 3. So it's tough for UMaine, obviously, being an underdog in that game against Ohio State, but I'm proud of the way they finished that second half, only being outscored by 13 points, 48-35 in the second half. And you look at it, height was a huge disadvantage for UMaine. The amount of breakaway dunks that Ohio State had, they probably had 2 or 3, but the dunks they had alley-oops in their offensive zone, that was tough for Maine. They really just didn't have the height to compete with Ohio State. That's why they were out-rebounded 37-19, and that's why Ohio State outscored them in the paint 58-28. And UMaine had 6 second-chance points, which isn't bad. Ohio State had 12. Ohio State had 21 points off turnovers to Maine's 4 points off turnovers of Ohio State. So, not the easiest game, obviously, for UMaine, playing against a team like Ohio State, who's bigger, who's stronger, who plays a little bit faster. But I'm proud of the way UMaine played in that game. And if you look at it, they're 6-6 on the year. They only had 6 wins on their entire season last year. So they've improved already. They've lost 2 in a row now. Akron was a tough loss on Monday night. That was by 32, very tough loss, and losing by 34 to Ohio State. But now this coming week, next Wednesday, they'll play against Harvard at home, so at the University of Maine. And Maine's actually 3-1 on the year at home. They've been playing very well on their home court. So that's one positive if you can look at it, that they can rebound next week, hopefully get a big win against Harvard. Harvard's actually having a really good year. There's a lot of good teams actually around that have good seasons. Harvard's one of them. They're 8-5 on the year. Lost to Kansas yesterday, 68-54. They were in that game, honestly, at the end of the day. They were down 32-23 after the first half. We're only down 5 in second half scoring, 36-31. Kansas outscored Harvard in the second half. So obviously if they were in the game with Kansas, Maine could be up against a tough battle against Harvard, but I think they can recover well. UMaine plays good defense. Obviously, that was a tough game against Ohio State, but not many teams are going to be in the game with Ohio State anyways. I mean, they were only outscored by 13 points in the second half. And Maine knows they only have a few more out-of-conference games, or one more, against Harvard, and then it's all conference games. They play UMass Lowell after playing against Harvard. They'll play UMass Lowell on Thursday, January 5th at UMass Lowell. Lowell's actually having a great season. They're 12-2 on the year. Just beat BU yesterday, a couple days ago now, 68-60. Huge win for UMass Lowell. They've been playing very good all year. 12-2. They haven't lost twice. They lost by 2 points at Rhode Island on Tuesday, December 13th, and then lost at Rutgers on Saturday, November 12th. So 12-2 on the year. Pretty impressive for UMass Lowell. Hopefully see them make a run maybe and go to March Madness. I think that would be obviously interesting and exciting to see. And then UMaine will play the New Jersey Institute of Technology and then UNH as well after that. So after the Harvard game, it's 3 straight conference games, and the rest of the season is all conference games after that. So one more out-of-conference game against Harvard. Hopefully finish out-of-conference play 7-6, which would be pretty impressive, and then start the games against conference teams on the right note by beating a team like Harvard and getting your footing back, which I know UMaine can do. They obviously have a great coach in Chris Markwood, first-year head coach of them. He already has them 6-6 on the year, matching the team's win total of all of last season with 6 wins. So I'm excited to see what UMaine does next week against Harvard. Hopefully they get some rest. Obviously, they had 2 games this week on Monday and Wednesday. Obviously not the easiest to play 2 games in 3 nights, especially after losing on Monday night by 32. It's tough to go to Ohio State after that and play such a big school in such a big arena. And obviously students are on break, so there were still fans at the Ohio State game. Not as many as there probably would have been if fans were still on campus. But still not an easy environment to play in. Such a big arena when you're used to playing in a small arena like your home court in Maine. It's not as easy, obviously, playing a big school with such big height and such speed. It's not easy to play against a team like that. So at the end of the day, I'm proud of Maine and the way they fought. Looking forward to hopefully seeing them rebound next week. I'll probably talk about that game at some point next week before it. Anyways, that does conclude today's episode. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to this. As always, I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good one. Thank you.